Hello and welcome. This is the story of how I, a 35-year-old guy from Brazil, learned English in just 6 months. It's not a lesson, it's a journey full of mistakes, adventure, love, and a little dog. And yes, you will find real tips for learning English along the way. Let's begin. My name is Daniel. I'm 35 years old, and I come from Brazil. For many years, I worked as a video editor in Sao Paulo. I had a good job, a small apartment, and a normal life. But something was missing. Every day felt the same. I woke up, worked, watched TV, slept. I started to feel tired, not just in my body, but in my soul. One day, I asked myself a simple question: if I died tomorrow, would I be happy with my life? The answer was no. That same night, I opened my laptop and looked at videos of people traveling. They were walking through cities, eating street food, making new friends. They looked so free. I wanted that. But there was a big problem. All those people spoke English. I didn't. At school, I was not a good English student. I knew some words like hello, yes, and no, but I could not speak, and I didn't understand when people talked fast. Still, I decided to change my life. I gave myself 6 months. I would learn English, start a travel blog, and go on the road. The next day, I made a plan. First, I changed my phone and computer to English. It was strange at first, but after 1 week, I started to understand simple words. I also made flashcards, small cards with English words on one side and Portuguese on the other. I carried them everywhere. On the bus, in the bathroom, before bed, I studied. But the most important thing I did was watch English YouTube videos every day. I didn't understand everything, so I used subtitles. First, I watched with English subtitles. Then I watched the same video again, but with no subtitles. I didn't stop the video when I didn't understand. I just listened. After some time, my ears started to learn. 3 weeks in, I met Sarah. She was an American traveler staying in a hostel in my city. I saw her taking photos in the park. I wanted to talk to her, but I was scared. I almost walked away. Then I thought, this is my chance. I said, hello. You like Brazil? My grammar was bad, but she smiled. Yes, very much, she said. We sat on a bench and talked for 1 hour. I didn't understand every word, but I smiled, nodded, and asked questions. She was patient. That day, I learned something important. People don't care if your English is perfect. They care if you try. Every day, I spoke a little English. I talked to tourists, joined online English groups, and even started recording short videos for my blog. At first, I hated my voice. I sounded strange. But I didn't stop. I knew that to get better, I had to make mistakes. One night, I recorded a video in English about a local food market. I spoke slowly, but with confidence. I uploaded it to YouTube. The next morning, I had 10 views. Not many, but one comment said, "Good job, man. Keep going." That was all I needed. I started to believe in myself. 2 months after I started learning English, I booked my first flight. I was going to Thailand. I chose it because it was cheap, warm, and full of travelers. I wanted to test my English in the real world. I said goodbye to my family, took my camera, my old backpack, and a heart full of fear and excitement. At the airport in Sao Paulo, I had to speak English for the first time in a real situation. The woman at the airline desk asked me, "Where are you flying today?" My hands were shaking, but I smiled and said, "To Bangkok." She asked, "Do you have a return ticket?" I said, "No, only one way." She looked at me for a moment, then gave me my boarding pass. I was in. The flight was long. I watched English movies with subtitles and listened to announcements. Every word felt like a puzzle. I didn't understand everything, but I didn't stop trying. I told myself, just keep going. When I arrived in Thailand, everything felt different. The smell, the noise, the weather. But the biggest change was inside me. I was not a tourist. I was a man on a mission, to learn, to grow, to live. I checked into a cheap hostel. My roommate was from Germany. His name was Felix, and he spoke English well. We sat on the rooftop and talked every night. Sometimes I didn't know a word, and I asked him, "How do you say that?" He always explained. That's another tip, don't be afraid to ask. People like to help. I started filming every day. I walked through busy markets, showed the food, talked to locals. At first, I recorded in Portuguese with English subtitles. But then I changed. I started speaking English in the videos. It was hard. I made mistakes. But viewers liked it. They said, "Your English is improving." That gave me energy. One morning, I met Anna. She was from Poland and also had a travel blog. We started making videos together. She spoke slowly, clearly. I listened to her carefully and copied her pronunciation. We laughed a lot, even when I said something wrong. She told me, "It's not about perfect grammar. It's about connection." I never forgot that. One day, we went to a small village outside Chiang Mai. There were no tourists there. No one spoke Portuguese. No one spoke my language. I had to use English for everything, asking for food, finding the bathroom, buying a bus ticket. I made many mistakes, but something amazing happened. I was not scared anymore. I was proud. I also made a rule: speak English every day, no matter what. Even if I was tired. Even if I had only 10 minutes. I recorded myself talking about my day. Sometimes it was boring. Today I went to the temple. It was hot. I ate noodles. But that's how I learned. One step at a time. After 3 months, I started to dream in English. That was strange. My thoughts were not always in Portuguese anymore. I would hear a word like water, and my brain didn't need to translate it. It just knew. That's when I understood. I was really learning. I also read simple English books and listened to podcasts. I didn't stop when I didn't understand something. I just kept going. And slowly, my vocabulary grew. Words became my friends. But then something happened. One day in Bangkok, I lost my phone. My camera was in my bag, but my phone had all my contacts, maps, notes. I was upset. I sat on the sidewalk and didn't know what to do. A local man saw me and asked, "Are you okay?" I said, "I lost my phone. I feel lost." He smiled and said, "Come. I help you." He took me to a small shop where I could use a computer. I called Anna and told her everything. She helped me find a new phone. That day, I learned something important. Even when life is hard, English can open doors. It helped me ask for help. It gave me power. 6 months after I started, I looked at my first video and then at my newest one. My voice was stronger. My grammar was better. I was not perfect, but I was real. People from around the world were watching my blog. They wrote messages like, "You inspire me," or, "Thanks for showing me this place." I was no longer just a Brazilian guy with a dream. I was a man who changed his life, one English word at a time. It happened in Vietnam. I had been traveling for 5 months. My English was stronger now. I could have real conversations. I made friends in every city. My blog had almost 5,000 followers. Life was fast, colorful, and full of sound. I was walking through a quiet village near Da Nang, filming the rice fields. It was early morning. The sky was gray, and the air smelled like rain. I heard a soft cry near a tree. It was not a person. It was something small, afraid. I followed the sound and saw a puppy. It was dirty, shaking, and had a hurt leg. I looked around. No people, no houses close. I took a step back. I was not ready for this. I didn't know how to help. I didn't even know the Vietnamese word for dog. But then I remembered something. This dog didn't need Vietnamese. It needed kindness. So I used the only language I had, my English. I spoke softly. "Hey, little one, you're okay now." My voice was calm. The dog looked at me, then crawled closer. I picked him up slowly. His body was light. He didn't fight. He trusted me. Back in the village, I found a small cafe with Wi-Fi. I walked in, holding the puppy. People looked at me. I said, "Excuse me, this dog is hurt. Is there a vet nearby?" A young man behind the counter said, "Wait, I call my sister. She works with animals." He made a call in Vietnamese. 10 minutes later, a girl arrived on a motorbike. She wore jeans, a blue jacket, and had calm eyes. Her name was Lynn. She took the puppy in her arms and said in English, "He will be okay. Just needs care." I smiled, full of relief. "Thank you," I said. I didn't know what to do. She looked at me and said, "You did the right thing." Lynn and I talked for a while. Her English was better than mine, but she spoke slowly for me. I told her about my blog, my journey, and how I learned English. She said, "You speak from the heart. That's what matters." That evening, we went to a local noodle shop. She showed me how to eat with chopsticks, and I made a mess. We laughed. Over the next few days, we met often. She showed me hidden spots in the village, an old bridge, a quiet beach, a forest path. I filmed everything, and she helped translate when I interviewed people. She even gave the puppy a name, Lucky. I didn't plan to stay, but I stayed. 1 week turned into 2. We walked every evening with Lucky. We talked about life, music, travel. She wanted to visit Brazil one day. I told her I'd be her guide. One night, under the stars, I said, I never thought learning English would bring me this. She smiled. Sometimes one door opens many others. But not everything was easy. One day, I was filming in a crowded market. A man bumped into me, and my camera hit the ground. The lens cracked. I felt sick. That camera was my work, my voice. I sat on a bench and stared at it. Lynn found me later. I told her what happened. She said, we'll fix it. We took it to a small repair shop. The man spoke only Vietnamese. Lynn translated. I watched them talk, and for a moment, I felt useless. But then I stopped her and said, let me try. I looked at the man and said in simple English, slowly, using hands and gestures, camera broken. Lens not working. Can fix. He didn't understand the words, but he saw my face, my hands, my worry. And he nodded. Sometimes, words are not everything. Effort is. That night, I made a video using my phone. I told my followers about the camera, about Lucky, about Lynn. I spoke from the heart, in English. No script, just me. People loved it. They said, we like this Daniel. He is real. After that, my blog grew faster. People wanted stories, not just places. They wanted emotion, not just facts. English had become more than a tool. It was the bridge between my world and theirs. One morning, Lynn and I sat on the beach. She said, so, what's next for you? I looked at the waves. I don't know. Maybe I keep moving. Maybe I go home. But I want you in my story. She looked at me for a long second, then took my hand. Learning English had given me words. Traveling had given me freedom. But meeting Lynn, and saving that little dog, had given me something more. It gave my journey meaning. I stayed in the village with Lynn for another month. Every morning, we took Lucky for a walk, then worked on videos together. She helped me with subtitles. I helped her with editing. We were a team. My English was strong now. I could explain my ideas clearly. I made jokes in English. I understood people in movies, even when they spoke fast. One day, I was on a video call with my cousin in Brazil. He said, man, your English sounds natural now. That felt good. But I knew I couldn't stay in one place forever. I had more to see, more stories to tell. So I made a plan. I would visit 2 more countries before flying home, Japan and New Zealand. Lynn smiled when I told her. She said, I'll miss you. But this is your path. I said, it's our path. You're part of my story now. We hugged for a long time. My flight to Tokyo was early. Lynn came with me to the station. Lucky licked my face one last time. I waved from the bus window until she was out of sight. Japan was cold and clean and beautiful, very different from Southeast Asia. I stayed in a small apartment and filmed everything, robot cafes, quiet temples, crowded trains. People didn't speak much English there, but I was not afraid anymore. I used body language. I used apps. I smiled. Most of the time, that was enough. In a hostel in Kyoto, I met a man from Kenya. His name was Ben. He had been learning English too, just like me. We talked for hours. He said, your story gives me hope. I said, if I can do it, so can you. We made a short video together about learning languages and not giving up. That video got over 20,000 views in 3 days. After Japan, I flew to New Zealand. It was green and open, with big skies and kind people. I rented a small van and drove along the coast. I slept under stars, cooked noodles on a small stove, and filmed my thoughts each night. I called it, The Road Diary. I spoke only English, even when I was alone. That was my final test. One day, I stopped in a little town. A school was having an English club for adults. I asked if I could visit. The teacher said yes. I stood in front of a group of people, young and old, and told them my story in simple English. They listened, laughed, asked questions. One woman said, you make it sound possible. I said, it is. You just need to start. Don't wait. And I meant it. Learning English changed my life. But it was not just about grammar or vocabulary. It was about believing in myself. About being brave enough to try, and try again. Every mistake was a step forward. Every conversation was a small victory. I didn't learn English by magic. I learned it by living it. Every single day. When I flew back to Brazil after 6 months, I felt like a new man. My family didn't recognize my confidence. My friends were shocked when I ordered food in English without thinking. I looked around my city and saw it differently. I had seen the world, and I had seen myself. But the best part? Lynn came to visit me 2 months later. She stayed for 3 weeks. I showed her my town, my food, my friends. We walked through the park where I had first met Sarah, the American tourist. Everything had come full circle. One night, I asked Lynn, what if we made a course together? Something simple, for people like us. Real stories. Real English. She smiled and said, let's do it. Now, we teach English through travel stories. We don't use big words or boring grammar. We teach with heart, with mistakes, with laughter, because that's how people really learn. So if you're reading this, and you're learning English, don't stop. Use your phone, watch videos, talk to people, make flashcards, speak even when you're scared, record your voice, write down new words, listen every day, learn like your life depends on it, because maybe, just maybe, it does. I was just a 35-year-old guy from Brazil, tired of his job, afraid of English. But I decided to try, and that made all the difference. Now I have a blog, a partner, a little dog named Lucky, and a voice that reaches the world. All because I learned English. And you can too.